can so be set with that. What's going on in North Korea right now, what's going on in Iraq and Iran right now, in Afghanistan, what's going on in the Holy Land right now. It is very real to us, amen, as it was very real to Jesus. So let's go to Matthew 24, 1 through 8. Margie, can you see that? Not so good, huh? Okay, who can see that? Somebody put up their hand. Okay, there you go.
Jesus left the temple and was walking away when his disciples came up to him to call his attention to its buildings. "Do you see all these things?" he asked. "I tell you the truth, not one stone here will be left on another. Everyone will be thrown down." As Jesus was sitting on the Mount of Olives, the disciples came to him privately. "Tell us," they said, "when will this happen? What will be the sign of your coming and of the end of the age?" Jesus answered, "Watch out that no one deceives you. For many will come in my name, claiming, 'I am the Christ,' and will deceive many. You will hear of wars and rumors of wars, but see to it that you are not alarmed. Such things must happen, but the end is still to come. Nation will rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places. All these are the beginning of birth pains."
Wars and rumors of wars. It said on the news last night that they lost track of that missile that North Korea was moving all around. I asked the general this morning if they knew where it was, and he didn't want to comment on that. So probably they know where it is. You see that commercial on television? I guess it's for an insurance company or something. I'm really not sure. But the man comes out and he asks, "How old was the oldest person that you've ever known?" How old was the oldest person that you've ever known? Well, somebody at the early service said 108. Now that takes the prize. I mean, my mother was a month shy of her 100th birthday when she passed on. We had a man at Hawthorne that was married, he was 104, and another lady, she was 103. It used to be that the President of the United States would call you personally on your 100th birthday, and he'd congratulate you. And then so many people got up to that point that he couldn't do that anymore, so they wrote you a letter, and he signed it, or they stamped his signature on it. And then it got to the point where they couldn't do that anymore, so now I think they send you a postcard, if at all, because there are so many people that are transcending that century mark. Amen? Well, just think, how much history have those people seen? The Wright brothers, they went on their little blip of a flight in 1904. Not all that long ago, just about 107 years ago. And now today, well, we've gone from that little flight, we've gone to longer flights, we've gone to commercial flights, we've gone to space travel, unmanned space travel, manned space travel. We've gone to the shuttle and to the space stations. We've set foot on the moon and come back. We've transcended from civilian to military. We now have stealth bombers. We now have drones that are unmanned. We have so many things in the field of aviation, and it just happened in a comparatively short period of time. We went from the horseless carriage to all the wonders of modern transportation that we just assume that they've always been there, but they haven't. They've just come on the scene, right and left, I'm sure that as I'm talking to you this morning, there are technological innovations in the world of computers. If you bought a computer before church starts, I think that after church is over this morning, there'll be a new one on the market, a better one on the market, an updated one on the market. It seems that that knowledge is increasing exponentially. And it's just too bad that wisdom is not increasing at the same rate. Amen. There's always going to be this problem that knowledge is going to get ahead of wisdom. So we need to pray, not for knowledge, we've got that in abundance, but for wisdom, that we can understand what to do about this knowledge and how we can keep it in check and how we can use it for our benefit. Amen. There's always going to be trials and tribulations. Not to date anybody, but I'll bet you there are people here who remember the Great Depression. How bad that must have been. I know my parents lived through it, but if you can't remember it, at least your parents can. You were working your way through college. And they told you need to put that money in the bank, but it's going to be safe. So you got yourself a job over the summer, maybe after school, you got yourself 2 jobs or maybe 3 jobs, and you kept putting that money in the bank. And then tuition was due, and you went down to the bank to get that money. But the bank doors were locked. And there was a line all around the block. And they all were saying the same thing, give me my money, give me my money. And the bank put out a sign that says, we're closed, there's no more money, we don't know where the money went. It just disappeared, ushering in the Great Depression. Sickness. We talk about the sicknesses. We talk about MRSA today, this resistant strain of bacteria that we get from hospitals for one thing. We talk about how bad it is, but you know, it doesn't hold a candle to the great influenza epidemic of the early 20th century. This epidemic of the flu just went worldwide and killed more people in 24 weeks than AIDS has in 24 years. It killed more people in 1 year than all the bubonic plagues and black deaths of history in a century killed. A half of the United States Army stationed in Europe during the Second World War died of influenza. As many people died of influenza as died of enemy bullets. You know, it got to be so bad that the Allies actually believed that the Germans had concocted a chemical warfare bomb, a bacteriological warfare bomb, and they had isolated this influenza strain and were shooting it over the line into their camp. It shortened the lifespan of average Americans by 10 years. That's not the only thing it shortened. It shortened the supply of physicians. So many doctors were actually kidnapped by families and forced to go to apartments and to go to houses and treat the people that they didn't have time to treat otherwise. There were shortages, not just of physicians, but shortages of coffins, shortages of morticians, shortages of grave diggers. They had to take the dead and bring them out every morning and bring them out every evening. It would hit you and kill you in a matter of hours. 4 people were playing bridge at night. The next morning, 3 of them were dead. They would call out in New York, and you can see pictures of this in history books. They would go through the streets of New York in a horse and a wagon and call out, bring out your dead, bring out your dead. And the people who had died during the night, they brought them out and they laid them like cordwood on the curves of the streets so that these sanitation workers could come by and pick up the dead people and load them in a wagon and take them who knows where. Then they came by every evening for those who had died during the daytime. Bring out your dead, bring out your dead. And it got to be so that you had to look for a place to cross the street. Because there were so many dead people there every morning and every evening. Did you hear on the news the other night they've got a new strain of flu? They're always coming out with a new strain of flu, aren't they? They're telling you you need to get a shot for it, inoculation. A new strain of flu. They say this is a bird flu. This is the bird flu, okay? Did you hear that? Well, I'm here to tell you all flu is bird flu. All flu is bird flu. If you have flu-like symptoms, if you have a cough, a sore throat, a headache, feverish, achy feeling, you've got the flu, you know where you got it? You got it from a bird. Absolutely. Now that's not to say that you came in contact with the bird, but the bird may have come in contact with another host that passed it on to you. A pig, more than likely. So we say, we got the swine flu. You heard of that, haven't you? The swine flu. Well, the swine flu came from birds, all right? The birds, they pick it up first, and then they pass it on to humans after it mutates a bunch of times so that it can get passed on to us. I remember when I was growing up, it was polio. You remember that? Before the Salk vaccine, I'll tell you, Jonas Salk is my hero. Because every summer, all the kids would be told, don't go swimming, don't get overheated, don't go into a crowd, don't go outside, or you're going to catch polio. And each one of us knew many kids that had gotten polio. It was not at all uncommon to have 2 or 3 people in your class succumb to polio during the summer. Now some people died. I had a good friend, we went over to see him one Sunday afternoon in an iron lung. Remember iron lungs? He died shortly thereafter. He had infantile paralysis. I've never seen such head sores on anybody in all my life. Infantile paralysis, polio. Franklin D. Roosevelt had infantile paralysis, didn't he? Yeah, many people died, but there were also people who limped for the rest of their life. There were also people who were confined to wheelchairs for the rest of their life. There were also people who got better, only to get worse again a couple decades later. That polio stayed inside you, and like my cousin, he had polio as a child, went through the next 50 years after being healed, and then it came back with a vengeance, crippling him now in his later years. Remember, they put those little droplets on cubes of sugar. Remember that? That's how it first came out, how the vaccine first came out, but they were live viruses on little sugar cubes. And we would line up in elementary school and we would go and put a sugar cube in our mouth, a spoonful of sugar, you know, makes the medicine go down. And a lot of parents, they say, you're not going to give this to my kid. And we thought that was kind of ridiculous. Why couldn't, you know. But I had a man in my church in Hawthorne that got polio from the sugar cube. Well, that happened. Then Jonas Salk, they don't use live vaccine, not live strains anymore. Oh, he's my hero. Just put up a monument to him if you would. Forest fires, earthquakes, floods, tsunamis, hurricanes. No longer get past Katrina, then you have Sandy coming on the scene. You just one right after the other. Is it worse than it used to be? It sure seems like it is. Snowstorms, but they tell you on the Weather Channel, they tell you this is not any worse than it has been at certain other times. And maybe that's right. Maybe we're just hearing more about it. But it sure seems worse to me. And then there have always been wars and rumors of wars. World War I, make the world safe for democracy. Safe for fascism and communism is what we did. In all of history, how do you look at recorded